Whaling Fireline Equipment training video for the single pack. This video lasts approximately 11 minutes. Loading of the packs start by placing a single straight roll with the female on the inside of the trunk line, and then the attack line, usually a 1-inch, in a donut roll with the female about half again longer than the male in the roll. You'll need the flagging tape, the diverter tee, and a nozzle. First you take the trunk line and bring it into the tray, and you connect it to the diverter tee. The diverter tee is then placed against the edge of the tray with the lateral 1-inch port facing out. Then the attack line is connected. The female is connected to the 1-inch port. An appropriate attack nozzles attached to the attack lateral, threaded on, and the nozzle is double checked to make sure that it is in the off, shut position. It is at this time you double check the diverter tee and make sure that the 1.5-inch male is shut with the diverter gate closed in that position. Then, by taking a piece of flagging tape about the length from your fingers to your elbow, you wrap it twice around the nozzle, the attack line, and the trunk line to secure it in place. This will hold it in place while it's being deployed out of the pack, and will make for an easy breakaway when it's time to charge the line and fight fire. And where the female attack line lateral is connected to the diverter tee, you want to make sure there's at least 8 to 14 or so inches of extra slop hose, so that when the tee is charged there's not a direct kink in it. So that loop of hose can be folded either in front of the diverter tee or behind, just as long as it's tucked and out of the way. It's not an issue which way it goes. As soon as that's done, you start loading the hose in an accordion load, just back and forth, feeding the hose on top of itself, side by side. This is real similar to how some engine companies choose to load their supply line in the back of their engine for catching a hydrant and fighting structure fires, which is essentially where we got the idea. And as the first layer gets loaded, the one person, in this case happens to be on the right side of the film, just applies pressure to the accordion load so the other person can feed in as much hose as possible. And there's no set amount, it's just by the time the tray gets extremely tight, you're ready to then move up and go to the next level. This is what the hose will look like when you're done loading that first level, and you can see it's staggered where the diverter tee is until it gets clear of that, and then it's completely flat back and forth. And now it's time for the hose to be brought up and continue to load on the second level. And this is done simply by taking that hose on that first level and just folding it in and up so that you've stepped up a level, and then you just feed it to the back of the tray. And now you're up on the second level, and the hose goes to the back of the tray and goes back over to the diverter CT side of the hose tray, where you start the accordion loading all over again. And this makes for a very smooth feed out as the hose comes out of the pack. And you can see right here what we're doing is we take it up and take it to the back of the tray, all the way around and back down to the diverter T, and then we start back into the accordion load. If you happen to accidentally fold the hose a different way to bring it up, it will just be a less smooth deployment. It'll still work, but this is the only recommended way to load the single pack. And as you can see, we're just continuing on with the accordion method of loading, and now it's time to tie the loop on the hose so that it's held in place during deployment. The loop is tied with a length of flagging tape about from the tip of your fingers to your shoulders. You feed it through the loop twice and secure that tautly, and then you continue going around the loop in a fashion like that. You can see it's gone through the loop twice, and now we go around again and we go over the top of the loop to flatten it out and hold it in place. And then we wrap that tightly and we just tie a square knot. That makes for a secure, as it's being deployed, it makes it secure, and then when it's time to be charged, it's able to easily break away, either by the charging of the hose or just by pulling on it. No need to untie anything. Just a reminder, after the conclusion of a fire, just picking up the spare pieces of flagging tape can take place long after the fire's been suppressed. Once the loop's been secured, you continue with the accordion load, and this goes until you have a certain amount of hose, and then just for the sake of smoothness you switch to a little tiny horseshoe in that last little area, and that helps to center the female on the trunk line so that it sits in an area protected by hose on both sides during storage. If you didn't do this, it wouldn't make any difference for deployment. It just has to do with being a little neater. And in a minute here you'll see where we actually there we go, and you can see there we've actually changed now, and now we're going to start finishing the load in a horseshoe manner. And we step up the horseshoe so that we leave room for the female coupling. And as we get to the end, we make sure that everything's tucked in so that essentially you have a rectangle full of hose. Nothing particularly is protruding, everything's squared off, and the female coupling is at the bottom of what will be the bottom of the pack, protected by hose on 3 sides, and it's ready for the rapid walkout deployment method. As you can see, that when it's all finished up, it's a rectangle full of hose, a combination of accordion and horseshoe. The female's tucked in, protected, centered, ready to be deployed out of the pack. All the hose should be even, and at that point you take the loaded hose tray off of the wheel table, take it over to the loading board. The hose tray is then going to be slid into the hose pack, and just make sure that the hose stays in the hose tray until it's all the way in the pack, and then you take the hose tray out. The top of the pack should look just like this, an accordion on the bottom and that loop that had to come back around on the top layer with all the accordion and horseshoe underneath it. Then the flap is put over the top. The top securing strap goes through the loops on the flap to hold it in place. Tighten this up snugly. Then the bottom securing strap is put in place. And that concludes loading the single pack. If there are any questions, feel free to contact me, and I'll be glad to answer any and all questions. Thank you very much.